for the Muslims we forgot. Ottoman Empire and leadership of the Ottomans based in Turkey was the superpower, and it was only superpower for which the whole world was worried about. And the Euro-American countries were afraid of the Ottoman. And we know lots of history from Hadith and the Holy Quran, how non-Muslims were afraid historically. And this fear among non-Muslims continued until 1917, until the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. As soon as Arabs signed the Sacred Pact with the British and they rendered assistance to the British in the First World War, and the result at the end of the war, if Arabs will render assistance to the British will allow them independence. So the small Arab neighboring countries thought that at the end of the war, if British will win the First World War, then we Arabs will be free and independent and will never be under the Ottoman. And that is the very tragic history of the Muslim world. And this Sacred Pact created, in fact, very small countries in the Arab world. In fact, these countries were not independent. They were ruled under the mandate system. And later on the trusteeship, first under League of Nations, then under United Nations. However, according to Balfour Declaration, the British agreed to recognize independent Israel as a state in the Middle East. And so that's how First World War was over. And at the end of the war, there was League of Nations. However, League of Nations could not survive as a peace treaty, and we had Second World War, the most drastic incident in the history of mankind, in the contemporary history of mankind. And as soon as Second World War was over, there was the United Nations. And when there was the force of constructing United Nations, there was a force to rehabilitate Israel as a new independent state in the Middle East. And it was established. And this time, between Arabs and Israel, a lot of war. And this drawing by look from the history, we see there were lots of war between 1947, 67, 73. And in all the wars, initially Arabs were getting upper hand, but later on there was feuds and conflicts between Arabs. And these conflicts among Arabs helped Israel gain upper hand. And finally, Israel was trying to occupy lands after land, areas after areas. And as soon as they were doing that, and they started Intifada. Like that started in Bangladesh, and the student leaders in 36 July or 5 August 2024. Uprising, awakening. And this uprising is continuing till today. And we know there are lots of peace accords in the history. And if I just tell you some of the important peace accords, we see Oslo Accords 1993, Camp David Summit 200, Arab Peace Initiative 2002, Abraham Accords 2020, and recent talks between Arabs and I'm not sure whether there are talks between Arabs and the dominant hegemonic stable powers like United States of America and other European powers. The talks are going on. I was watching this morning lots of conversations between Mehdi Hassan, the great debater, and the counterparts. And all these talks and debates were focusing on how torture, humiliation, killing, innocent people, killing, destructions, unplanned destructions of their homes, building. And as a result of these destructions, Palestinians are turning to refugees. And they are now considered like Gaza, like occupied Gaza there. And the Gaza is completely landlocked. And this is the living graveyard in the contemporary history, as is been compared by some of the international analysts. Now, in this background of understanding Arab-Israeli conflict, and say Palestine-Israeli conflict, how to move forward for a conflict resolution. There are 2 or 3 options for this conflict resolutions. One is two-state solution. That's the strategy of coexistence between Israel and the Palestinians. And the second option, well, of course there are lots of challenges for option 1. Challenges are concentrated on settlements of both Palestinian Arabs and Israelis, issues of border, although there is no border, and the status of Jerusalem. And option 2 is all-state solution. That's a very ambitious strategy. And if you are familiar with the irredentist claims, maybe based on irredentist claims, Palestinians may claim of the lands. Even Israeli people also may claim of the land, because both Palestinian and Israel are the sons of the soil. So that's a, I would say, very typical propositions to be implemented. And third option is a confederation model. That's a kind of shared governance and government to be shared between Palestine and Israel. I'm not sure what will be the shape, patterns of this confederation model. We have among us today noted political leaders, journalists, and we have theorists, and our guru, I would say His Excellency Farhad Nazar, and we'll be very interested in knowing the types of this confederation model if we go for confederation model. And I'm throwing these 3 options on the floor, and this floor should allow us opportunity to talk, discuss, and debate, and to come to a solution as was demanded by the Bangladesh Congress. But before we move on to find any solution or move on to accept any of these 3 options or any other 4th options or 5th options, then we need to understand the challenges and the problems that will create obstructions in the way to resolve Palestine-Israeli conflict. And these challenges, again, are categorized into local, regional, and international. Locally and regionally, the nature of the conflict is very virulent and dangerous. And there's a distrust and mistrust between contracting parties. Years of violence, failed negotiations, shifting political dynamics have left the regional and local elites in the countries to grow distrust between Israel and Palestinians. And that has made difficult bottlenecks in resolving the Palestine-Israel conflict. Internal political division, a second important barrier. Within both Israel and the Palestinian territories, political